Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It's your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing a lovely 38mm stainless steel gem set Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Chronograph. This is reference 26715ST. It's part of the class of 38mm Royal Oak Chronos originally launched in 2019. So it's 38mm in diameter in steel. It's 11mm thick from lug tip to lug tip. The case is 48.1mm. But if we measure the end length to end length, the total lateral distance across the wrist is going to be 50.1mm. And that's sort of the way it is with Royal Oaks and Royal Oak chronographs on bracelets. They all wear a size larger than they are. So while this is a 38, frankly, it wears more like a 40mm round watch. Consider this watch suitable for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. It is low, it's flat, it'll slide under a cuff, no problem there. And the timepiece is perfectly suitable as a sports watch or dress watch with a screw-down crown. It is 50 meters water resistant and thus surface swimmable. Take a quick look, one more cuff shot over the top, and then we are done. The bracelet, as with all Royal Oaks on bracelets, a huge part of the appeal. The bezel, the case, the bracelet, all finished by hand as they have been since the original, designed by Gerald Genta in 1972. The finishing of the steel is where the value comes from. Originally, the watch was priced at an absurdly high level, commensurate with the work involved. People asked, how can you charge that much for a steel watch? It's not even gold or platinum, but it's the hours upon hours that go into these facets and satin and polish, perfectly aligning these polished shoulder bevels all the way down the bracelet. You can see the flanks are vertically satinated across the top. They're longitudinally satinated. The little intermediate links are polished inboard. You can see their inner faces as you roll the bracelet through the light. Those inner faces are polished, and we have these little gullies between the links to give them more degrees of flexibility and to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. We have removable links fixed by screws, and quite a few of those, so you will find the correct size. And then we have a double deploying clasp with twin trigger release. You can see internally it's satinated and media blasted. A sequential close, one side closes before the other, and with the twin trigger release, it feels very robust indeed. You have to press both to open it. This clasp feels like it could be on a Royal Oak offshore. Now the case and the bezel, inspired by a vintage diving helmet. Nowhere is that more obvious than in the rounded octagonal form of the bezel. Again, this was inspired by a vintage diving helmet. We have a case that echoes the character lines of the bezel. You can see the character line runs through the flank of the bezel, through the flank of the case, and then into the case back. The case flanks are slightly faceted. We have an expanding bevel that expands as you move away from the mid-case over the lug hoods. The outer edge of the bezel is satinated. The sloped flank is polished. And then above, we have brilliant diamonds set in between the white gold hexagonal bolts that fix the bezel to the case, and they are bolts, not screws. That's how they can be aligned all the way around. This is actually a quite subtle way to use gems on a watch. Now we have shoulders for the chronograph pushers. They look like they might be screw downs, but they're not. Since 2017, that has not been the case on Royal Oak chronographs. So the chronograph is always available to operate. Again, we do have a screw down crown and a 50-meter water resistance rating. The watch includes a quick set system for the date, and the attention to detail excellent here. As you can see, the fonts for the 1 and the 3 are the same on the date disc as they are on the sub registers. We have a silver track outboard for reading seconds, minutes, and chronograph fractions of a second. A hollow counterweighted chronograph seconds hand. We have Audemars Piguet logo, indices, and hands rendered in white gold, so over time they will not tarnish or oxidize. We have sub registers in silver with concentric patterns, and then we also have a sub-seconds down at 6 o'clock, so chronograph hours, chronograph minutes, sub-seconds. The date wheel, blue to match the dial. It should always be that way on high-end watches. There is a quick set for the date, and we do have a combination of a vertical clutch and a column wheel for the chronograph. So when I start the chrono, there's no jump to the seconds hand because the vertical clutch has no play. Also, because the vertical clutch has no play, you can leave the chronograph running on a full-time basis with no additional hazard, wear, or tear to the movement. The chronograph has a very positive pusher feel because of the use of a column wheel, and you really get that sensation when you operate the chronograph pusher activation. We'll do a quick lume shot so you can see the watch in the dark. There's no shortage of lume. This is a sports watch in every sense. And then we have the Grande Tapisserie. It is a large hobnail dial. We'll get as close as we can here. You can see just how detailed the texturing of those hobnails gets. And this is created on a pantograph lathe that takes a large template and copies every undulation and texture from that template onto a small brass blank that's eventually galvanized to become this light blue metallic dial. So this is an artisanally crafted dial made the old-fashioned way. Underneath the case back, AP calls this the caliber 2385. I call it a Frederic Piguet 1185. It's a thin, fine, automatic, high horology, vertical clutch, column wheel chrono. Unidirectional winding. It has a 40-hour power reserve, a 3 Hz beat rate, pivots on 37 joules, vertical clutch, column wheel, quick set date. And it features 5-position adjustment, which is the high horology and chronometer standard. The only feature it doesn't have is hacking seconds. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.